Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Autoholics Anonymous, hosted by the Average Squad, simulcast on YouTube and wherever your podcasts are found. I'm J.R. Olive. We have
Lee Purvis,
Kurt Barnes,
Andy Carter.
Around the table, and we are going to bring you some fantastic car information and conversation and a little bit of Craigslist gold.
But first, what's the snack of the night?
Tonight we're snacking on Famous Dave's pickle chips. They've been marinating in what they call devil's spit.
And they're hot, but they have a nice flavor.
They taste great, but they hot.
JR's Hot Pickles
JR's
are
Hot
delicious.
Pickles is TM.
They are good. You got to try them.
TM.
So, for tonight, we're going to kind of, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, if you're into this, deviate a little from traditional Average Squad values because it is currently the Geneva Auto Show, which is in Geneva.
Italy.
I believe it is Italy.
or Switzerland.
Is it Switzerland?
The Geneva,
Yeah.
the Geneva Convention.
Oh.
Yeah,
Gold.
we can move it around. I mean, Europe's, something we can
Europe's
shift
all-
around.
Europe is just a country.
Europe doesn't matter when you're in America.
We actually have podcast listeners in Europe. I mean, in England
Sorry about that then.
and Germany. No, Austria. Was it Austria? I think it was
Austria.
Austria, you said, was our most.
If you're an
common.
Austrian listener, please let us know. We'll send you a sticker.
True.
So Geneva is a lot of supercars, a lot of like crazy European stuff that we don't usually get, but there is some really cool stuff. JR, you have a particular affinity for one European.
JR doesn't have an Infinity. Yeah, it drives an Avalon.
For one particular European supercar builder, and so why don't you tell us a little bit about what he's up to?
I think Andy's talking about Koenigsegg.
Christian Vaughn.
Nobody knows how to say it correctly except for him, but I think
it's
Koenigsegg is
Koenigsegg.
pretty close.
Yeah.
And he's just a guy. If you're not familiar, his company that goes by his own name has the fastest car in the world. And at Geneva, they just released a car that is supposed to beat it. The fastest car right now, fastest production car ever made is the Agera RS, and he is releasing a car that he named after his dad called the Jesco. 1,600 horsepower, 3,000 foot-pounds of downforce. It's just stupid, crazy. But the thing I like most about him is that he's like an engineer by training, and like everything about their car is made in their own factory. So like switches, seatbelt buckles, the engine, of course, suspension, and all that stuff is all designed, and most of it is made, actually like crafted in their
It was do that. Why was it?
crafted
What?
in their shop.
What are the only things that he doesn't make?
Tires, right?
Yeah, it's like of course they have like Michelin, have some special proprietary Michelin Sport Cup
I guess
tire.
any tires are, but the rest, yeah, like
And,
you
like-
said, it's all made in house.
Like
it's
and
crazy.
some stuff, like a lot, like engines, like blocks and stuff. I know that they built. They're grinding that and CNC and all that. But according to this Jesco thing, they're having the heads on this new engine are forged by the same people who make the Formula One engine heads. So
Well.
they're going out of house for that, but
Still,
they're,
I will say
I think
that
it's acceptable.
between Pagani and Koenigsegg, I think are probably like the at least mainstream craziest hypercar makers.
Like boutique.
yeah,
Yeah.
Boutique
to me,
manufacturers.
like I will say a Koenigsegg when you watch the videos, it's the first time I've ever like heard the price, which I think they're like 2-4 million, whatever. I'm like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Like I can see why it costs that much.
Go watch if you want like kind of a good idea on how Christian von Koenigsegg thinks. There are a few good videos on YouTube. One of my favorites is the Jay Leno's Garage. I think was the JRR.
Well, he had both.
He's
of
done
them.
both.
Oh,
Yeah.
but that's an awesome video. It kind of gives you a look inside like his mind a little bit. And what I like about Christian von Koenigsegg is like he's obviously at the forefront of one of the biggest supercar monikers, but he seems like a down to earth car guy.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't know if you could say the same for the people in charge at Ferrari.
Like no one else
Yeah.
no one else who owns a car company is coming to Jay Leno's garage to do a personal walk around with.
Right.
He comes at it more as an engineer, has made his own car company and is proud of it. Whereas, the other you go to the traditional exotics, Italian, the Ferrari and stuff like that. You've got a whole company above them that's controlling everything now, and it's just become sort of impersonal. Where he's still at, this is my baby, this is my company.
Yeah, and I think the pride is probably there with different companies, but for different reasons. Whereas you can tell he really takes pride in the thoughts that are behind the product. Whereas not just the product itself and that it screams elegance or it's expensive or whatever. He's just like, we engineered this and it's awesome, and here's why, and that's the coolest thing.
Something else I like about the guy, the company, they don't put themselves as an elitist within the supercar community. There's talk about Ferrari. Hey, you can't have this unless we've approved you to have this car. Koenigsegg's like, hey, buy my car. He
just strikes me as the kind of and like his approach. I mean, from my perspective, the thing I like about cars is their mechanical nature, and like he just approaches problems as someone with a seemingly infinite access to capital and R&D, because like that's.
Yeah.
But his company, I mean, we're talking about a company that probably is certainly less than 100 people. Like he doesn't employ.
Right. Can we speaking on the technical stuff? He calls the transmission for the new car. It's a 9-speed automatic, the
7
light-speed
clutches?
transmission, the
Light
LST. Yes, light-speed transmission. That is cool. Hey, it's an E85 too, by the way.
Yeah,
to get to the 1,600 horsepower, you only get 1,280 horsepower when you use gasoline. So.
Well, that's just preposterous.
It's interesting that it's not a hybrid, because like looking at a lot of the other supercars that are being debuted, they're almost all either electric or hybrid.
It's easy power. I mean,
yeah, right. Sure, yeah.
Well, JR, you saw what the talking about the turbos though, and not really a hybrid, but this is an interesting approach.
I think when Ferrari and Porsche and McLaren came out with their, the first set of
big three
hypercars that were hybrid, hybrid tech, and everyone was looking to him like, "Are you going to get in this race or whatever?" And he was like, "No." And then a generation later, he did do, the.
Because what was the?
I think either the Rug era or UG era. I can't keep them straight. Like one of those is a hypercar hybrid, whatever. But like for this car, he's got this system of injecting pressurized air into the turbos to spool them up to eliminate turbo lag. Like there's basically just a standalone air compressor that shoots air into the turbos without any exhaust going through them to get them up to speed.
At low RPM.
At low RPM, yeah.
Kind of similar to like how a variable geometry turbo works, but in a different way.
According to this article, Volvo diesels also employ the same technology.
Volvo.
Swedish. Yeah, there you go. It's
Ooh.
the Swedes have figured it out.
I'm reading more about the transmission. It says, for example, if the driver is cruising in 7th gear and 4th gear is the optimal gear, the Jesco will let you shift down 3 gears instantly.
Yeah, I think
if you like hammer it, it'll drop down to the optimal.
There's
gear.
essentially almost
Wow.
like there's like probably outside of the top cruising gear and the first gear, there is essentially a clutch for every gear, and like the computer can decide in milliseconds like which you could engage 3 clutches at one time to downshift 4 gears, the same way a dual clutch can shift sequentially super fast.
Right.
If you have 7 clutches, you can, and that's what I'm talking about. Like that seems like a sort of silly thing to do, but it's also a really it's sort of a practical solution. That given the time and money, you can just do that.
Power to him also with this being, would you call it the Halo car for Koenigsegg at the moment?
I mean
yes, this will be their Halo. I would
he's
imagine
still
300 miles an hour.
Yeah. Paddle shifters are there, but he still kept a manual shifter in the center console for you.
Which is really weird because it's like it's manual, but there's just no clutch. Well,
right.
There's 7
clutches. Yeah, I don't know.
So it's like an H pattern?
I mean, I don't know how how it shifts, but it is like a movable thing.
It's pretty cool.
Probably because Jay Leno said,
Yeah.
I just like having a gear shifter.
Yeah.
I just like having.
One car that I want to talk about a little bit, it's not a supercar, but it was debuted at Geneva, is the Honda E prototype.
Here we go.
It's so cool.
It would be cool if they were coming to America.
If they were coming to America.
Wait, is this the one that looked like the older Civic?
Yeah,
hatch?
so it's based off the Urban EV concept, and so this is a little electric car that'll be coming out for Japan and Europe, and it looks like an original Honda
GTI, yeah.
Honda N600, which of course predates the GTI, and so it's pretty cool that it is a rear-wheel drive electric car. It's going to have a 125 mile range, which is probably why it's not coming here, because that is significantly lower than its competitors would be. But if you're just driving a Leafs are over, close to 300 now, 270 or whatever.
I don't follow it. I don't follow that crew.
Yeah. But it's super cool looking, kind of a retro vibe, but also
just give it 26
modern.
years and you can get
Yeah,
one.
in 25 years I'll import an electric car. I'm sure there'll be no progress before then.
So how does the Geneva Auto Show translate into what our topic is tonight?
So our topic tonight is supercars, but in an average squad, environment, I decided to limit our budget to $50,000, which of course is way higher than the normal average squad budget.
Supercars is what we normally.
But that's way lower than most supercar prices.
Exactly. If you're buying a supercar for under $50,000, it's going to be hilarious for some reason.
Maybe.
Let's see.
I'm excited about this.
I kind of am too. I think this is a neat.
Yeah.
This is probably the first one where I've gone in thinking maybe no one picked what I picked.
Really?
I've got something cool.
Well, why don't you go first, Andy?
Okay. So I went ahead and started my search over, of course, on the West Coast. I don't even know what state this is. Morgan Hill. I think it's California. It is. It is in Southern California. It is a 2007 Aston Martin Vantage V8
With a stick.
6-speed manual.
Nice.
Runs excellent. Clean in and out. New tires.
200,000 miles.
It is salvage title.
Oh.
But it was just because of grill damage. He's got a picture of it. Grill damage and the hood damage. It is 120,000 miles for $26,000.
What?
Yes. And this thing looks sharp.
Incredible.
It's black.
Aston Martin has post 2000.
But it's either
Aston
black or navy blue. I can't really tell, but with a camel tan interior, 6-speed.
How much power did those make? It was 8-cylinder,
400
right? Was it a big V8?
Let me see.
Advantage, yes.
Yeah. Let's see. Vantage horsepower, 380 horsepower.
Yeah.
So for the time.
Still, they're smaller than you think.
Yeah, 4.3 liter V8 for 300 horsepower.
I mean, to be fair, that's also that car is the more expensive version of a SL Mercedes, or some V12 Mercedes that's $5,000 because it at 120,000 miles, it's going to need some sensor or some timing chain or some kind of bull.
Of course, this is going to be an expensive
terrible
endeavor.
tone.
Of course, but
probably fun to drive.
Didn't Doug DeMuro have a good?
I think his was pretty fine. I mean, I think this is what he had. He had a Vantage, and
This
I think
was a little newer.
Wait, he's the one he sold to Tavares, one of the other YouTube car guys, and it made a whole nother life on YouTube again.
Yeah, I mean,
I remember the car now.
This thing looks sharp.
Well, they all look. I mean,
yeah. And it doesn't look ratty, though. I mean, the wheels are kind of the matte black. I'm not wild about that, but for 26, I mean, this is mid-range Accord price.
That's Mustang GT money.
Yeah.
Which I'd rather have.
Essentially a Mustang GT.
To be fair,
kind of. I think I'd rather have a Mustang GT because it's probably more reliable.
It is. I mean, this was right in the Ford era, right?
To be fair,
Yeah, I think so. That was like coming right on the tail end of the Ford Jag.
I feel like 90% of the miles I
ownership.
drive are just like my commute is 3 minutes, and like I probably wouldn't drive it to Atlanta, but you know, you'd be that guy around town with an Aston Martin.
Could you fix an Aston Martin in the AutoZone?
Oh,
parking
JR
lot?
could do anything.
So,
have you ever
I'll say
met
this.
To
JR?
be fair, in this era of Aston Martin, there was probably a lot of overlap with Ford and Volvo. This is back when Ford, in the early 2000s, Ford owned a third of the auto market,
Yeah.
including Aston
I will
Martin.
Volkswagen
say,
owned the other 2/3.
So Chuck Bullware, who is a local car enthusiast here, is currently fixing one. He has one right now and is currently fixing it, and he's gonna have me come photograph it and drive it and stuff. So I'm pretty excited about
It's
that.
also a stick car.
It is a stick, yeah.
Cool.
So,
I'm gonna have to holler at Chuck and tag along.
yeah.
That sounds fun.
Who's
I'll
next?
have to holler at him too.
Who wants to go next? I can go next.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I came in late into the subject, and it hit me finding a supercar. I don't know. How do you define that at $50,000? So I found in Los Angeles, California, a 19, and in true us mode, 1974 De Tomaso Pantera.
That's a supercar.
I would call that a supercar of the era. They were 266 horsepower. It was a 351 Cleveland. Hey, there's another Ford crossover, actually. It was pretty much all Ford running gear back then. This one has been sitting in storage, though, for several years. I don't know what that means, and is a good candidate to restore. So that can tell you right there that...
Can you drive? Could you drive it home if
Oh
you live
yeah,
in LA?
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you can
So
drive
it,
home.
Yes.
it
I
runs and
think-
drives.
Yeah, it runs and drives, but looking at the interior is definitely, it's rough.
Well, you fix those with a hammer. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a Ford. It's a small block Ford V8.
It's
fine.
definitely. But look at, I mean, come on, we got the sideways tape deck in there with the push buttons. And
Is
the,
it a
and the
30?
dash.
Is it what?
351.
351
351.
Cleveland is
Yeah.
what was.
What
in
was that
those.
in? Like a if you, what?
Anything,
Everything
trucks,
Ford-
Yeah, okay.
Mustangs.
Like,
Yeah, and it was
It was a
De
351,
Tomaso
so
partnered
it
up
was
with
like a
Ford.
350.
Oh, all
and-
right.
yeah, and they put them in everything. Yeah, they really did. I mean,
It was
It's-
Ford's 350.
it's rough, but it's like I said, you could drive it home, and it's my price on this one was $44,500.
How much is like a nice Pantera?
Expensive.
Really?
I mean,
Like,
well,
the prices have
probably
gone
under
up.
$100,000, but probably between 75 and 100 grand,
This is
maybe.
I feel like I don't know. I feel like I used to see
that-
used to see those.
For cheaper.
I
Yeah.
feel like those were not even desirable. Like
I don't think they were until probably the past
15
5
years ago,
years,
yeah.
10 years. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they weren't something you wanted.
then the Ring Brothers got a hold of that one.
Oh,
I saw that one in person. It was neat.
Where
There's
at?
been a few of them.
At
like
the
that.
LA Auto Show.
Ah.
Whoa, hey! I just pulled up the same car on another listing. It's $42,500, so knock $2,000 off
All
that.
right,
price,
well,
buddy.
It's
so-
on sale.
They'll
All
take
right.
38.
But here's a 72 also, just for comparison. This is a restored running example. It's $110,000.
That is not what I want.
That's a lot of money for a Ford.
Yeah.
I'd take the ratty.
Were they designed in Europe?
They're
the
Italian.
Panteras?
They were Italian design.
Italian. Okay.
Yeah, Italian.
I just
Carol Shelby's
tell you what.
personal Pantera is for sale for $249,000.
wank.
Don't want
Wank.
that.
All right, JR, you want to go next or you want me to
I'll
go?
go next,
All
'cause
right.
just in case.
Yeah.
My car is a 2001
I'm safe.
Lotus Esprit V8.
We're close, though.
Oh, I'm interested,
So-
though.
A 2001 Lotus Esprit V8 twin turbo flat plane crank. This was the car that James Bond drove as a submarine in that movie. This is also the car that James May drove in Patagonia, in the Top Gear Patagonia special. So he drove it all through like
What color
yes.
is it?
silver, but it's got correct. Oh wait, where did the photos go? It's silver on the wheels that you want. It's in very clean. Everything about it is very clean.
Oh yeah.
That was like the last gen, too.
Yeah,
of
this is the old. This is the
Esprit.
newest one.
They were essentially unchanged since like the late 70s, right?
Well, they didn't have V8s came along later, and the
Well,
V8
I mean the body though.
It was similar, but
Okay.
it kept a very similar profile.
in the
Okay.
late 70s it was more. Boy, that 2001 interior though, boy, that steering wheel with that airbag.
That's fine, to
Uh,
be honest.
But it's a cool car, and they're not known for being ultra reliable per se.
Understatement of the year.
But this one is just a great example. This one has under 37,000 miles. And that's why it's.
Does
so
it have
clean.
all the
It stopped
does
running.
it have the Lucas Electronics? Like all the British.
I think they were past the Lucas by that point.
Yeah,
I didn't know they made them that. I completely blanked that they made them that late.
That was
Uh,
about the last gen of. I mean, that was almost probably
so
one of
this
the last
particular
model years.
one, and this is why this is the one you want. The previous owner purchased this car with engine damage and subsequently spent over $20,000 on a complete engine rebuild and differential, like basically rebuilt the whole powertrain. So this one should be fun for a while, and it is 42.9, which for a flat plane crank V8 with a manual transmission,
And
two-seater,
some snails slept on there.
and twin turbo. Yeah, it looks.
How much power does that make?
I don't know in 2001.
Those looked much the exotic look to me.
Yes.
though.
I think
it
they were
is-
probably around 400, weren't they?
It certainly with twin turbo V8, and it's a small it's a smaller V8, but it
And let's be honest. I mean, to me, it was a much more striking car than the Elise, the Exige, or the
350
Evora that
horsepower.
followed from Lotus.
right.
Those
Yeah.
are great track cars, but the Esprit always had that look of an exotic from Europe.
They did look more. They were 350 horsepower, 3,000 pounds. Which I'm going to go ahead and go because this segues pretty nicely into my pick, which is also a Lotus because JR and I are on the same wavelength always. I picked a 2008 Lotus Elise SC, so the supercharged, 4-cylinder. And this one is pretty nice. It's higher miles. It's got 92,000 miles on it.
Yeah, but it's just a Corolla engine, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Two's easy.
yeah. These had the supercharged ones had 220 horsepower, but they came in at like 1,900 pounds, 2,000 pounds.
Super light car.
So they are, they are as fast as any of y'all's picks.
I'm not going to challenge that as a supercar, but
It's faster and performs better in every measurable aspect than the one you picked.
I mean, I guess it's just
It just
Yeah.
depends on what you mean.
yeah.
We had this discussion when Andy proposed this topic, and we were preparing. and
well,
doing
I
research.
intentionally picked one that was
I-
maybe not.
I just think it's probably more of a sports car
or a track car.
a track.
I
yeah.
agree, but if you drive this car by a non-enthusiast, they're gonna think it's a
You're
Ferrari
right. You're right.
or
That's
something.
fine. I mean, yeah, you're not wrong.
But anyway, this one, and it's got like it's had a bunch of recent maintenance, super long list. It looks
What
like
was
it's
yours?
well taken care of.
The Vantage.
Yeah, I would say out of everyone's car, your car is the most likely to be ignored by a
That's
casual.
You're fair. That's fair.
If looks
I mean,
if looks go into
I would
making a
maybe argue
supercar.
that mine's not a supercar. Maybe.
Yeah, yours is a glorified 370Z.
Yours is like it's like is hyper luxury a super like is
I
a,
was
well,
gonna say, I
it's
would-
it's a touring. I mean, it's
yeah,
a GT.
Grand
GT.
Touring,
Yeah, it's a GT. Yeah, it's a GT.
if we wanted to break it down, but
brand pedigree.
when you bring everything to that 50,000, you're forced to look at that kind of.
Mine's also.
say,
Lee,
hey,
how much was
is
yours?
this a supercar?
it is 39.5. Yours was the cheapest, but I feel like this is a lot of car for $40,000.
It is a lot of car. What I think is interesting is how much car you can get now compared to all of these for $40,000.
That's true.
Like
Yeah.
a GT,
now.
a GT Mustang is faster than all of these. for
Yep.
$40,000.
And handles great and has daily drivability
It
and
is
a
factory
warranty.
It is
warranty.
certainly
Yeah.
better in every measurable way than my car.
I mean, yeah, because you got a new GT, like an 18 or 19 GT, comes with 460 horsepower, has a 7,500 RPM red line, and is
it's like
more
8.
comfortable to drive than an Accord. Like,
Well, it's
Yeah,
not more
well,
comfortable than a Accord,
it's-
but
yeah.
that's fair.
it's pretty comfortable.
And I mean, in the looks department, she ain't bad neither.
No, that's
they're
correct.
handsome. But yeah, this one, I mean, I've always, as a Miata owner, this is like the holy grail of a driver's car, and
Yeah.
that's why. I mean,
I will say
What
that
color is yours?
it's orange. It's Lotus orange.
Yeah.
So it's it's noticeable, you know. To me, when I think supercar, I think something that's going to catch you off guard with looks. That like before anything else, before performance numbers or whatever.
That's fair.
Which, to be fair, I don't want to. If we're gonna fight about it, I think mine looks the most like. The good thing about my car,
I think Kurt's
yeah,
could.
I think that the Pantera looks.
the
I mean, it's a,
to me,
there's
the
a different
Pantera has a
era.
classic. To me, supercar. The term supercar, like, of course, if
This just in, JR thinks a car from 1974 looks classic.
no, but
Well,
yeah,
hold
no,
on.
that's true. But
Well-
I'm saying like a Miura compared to like a Countach, like the Countach looks more like a supercar because I don't
That's
think
probably fair.
I don't think supercar started until
the 80s is probably
because the dichotomy, like back in the like 70s, you could buy like most cars looked good to me, like mid 70s and back.
yeah.
think
I mean,
70s
I
is-
think so now. But did
70s
they
is
think that
bold.
then?
No.
I just think that the difference between like
I think a Pantera looks like a supercar.
I think a Pantera looks like
It's just a shame I
An
couldn't find
interesting-
any F40s for under 50 grand. I looked hard.
To be fair, you can find Esprits for mine is expensive because it's nice.
And how much was yours?
42.9.
42.9. So y'all
Yeah, I
are all,
feel
y'all,
like-
y'all are all right around 40, right?
Yeah, well, I found
yours
mine
was you found yours was
42.5, yeah.
42.5.
I feel like the Esprit.
You can
it
find
was-
these for 20,000 all day that need work.
Yeah, but they were
Yes.
plagued with kind of unreliability. I mean,
Sometimes it's like I think it's just they're hand built. Hit or
mine
miss.
is
It's hit or
infinite.
miss.
Mine is the most reliable of
That's
the bunch.
true. Yeah,
Yeah,
can't,
yours
can't
is,
argue with that.
all right.
I mean, it has
so,
92,000
So this is like
miles
what
on
we
it.
would buy.
I mean, isn't it always?
Yeah. So why? So
Well-
I'm gonna give it to Lee, but I think I have a point. But I'm gonna give it to Lee because I think he's right that it would qualify as a supercar for the average person. It would be the most fun to drive. It'd be the most fun to own.
I'm gonna throw mine at JR. The Esprit, maybe it's because I'm of that generation that the Esprit was cool, but it's still when I see that angled wedge design, it screams exotic.
Yeah, fair.
I think I'm gonna take Kurt. I think there's just
You like
something
my
that's-
angled wedge design?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
So-
there's something that's so cool about a Pantera, and the fact that it looks like a Ferrari and has
So
a Ford
I have
V8
the deciding vote.
JR, you get to decide.
Well, it's either between me or you,
as it should be.
But because like Kurt has said exactly what I would say about my own pick. But if I'm actually gonna own it, like if I'm,
That's what it comes down to.
I think. But so here's,
You've got about a minute and a half.
I think if I bought the Esprit and drove it and enjoyed it and it kind of got not rough but like I loved on it,
Right.
I could sell it for more than if I did that with the Elise. Like I think a ragged out, non-clean Elise is not going to have as much resale value.
Yeah, but the thing is it'll still run.
All right, JR. Call it.
I guess I'll pick the Elise.
All right, you heard it from us. The average squad uses the supercar with the Corolla engine
No surprises.
as
be
its
fair.
winner. All right, guys, we are currently enjoying Concours d'Elegance, and I think we're going to try to do a live recording on Saturday, so it'll be tomorrow as y'all listen to this. So we'll be back next week. See y'all later.
Have a great night.
Bye.